Hi, I'm Katie from Cottage Garden Threads and Tack It Easy. We hand dye variegated embroidery thread and embroidery and English paper piecing. Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is our very first Flosstube video, so please bear with me. I'm very nervous about filming this video, but I've got so much to share with you and hoping to make this a regular video. So I've got some segments for you today about what I've been working on. There will be a bit of shop talk in amongst it because what I'm working on is very much Cottage Garden Threads and Tack It Easy related. So some new products that we're working on, new projects, and also some things all about you, some stitches, spotlights, a giveaway. So stay tuned for that a bit later in the video, as well as conversion requests and news from the dye room, news from the studio, lots and lots of things. So go and make yourself a cuppa, put your feet up, get your stitching out, and let's hang out for a while. So a project that I've been working on recently is a bit of a combination between embroidery, cross stitch and English paper piecing. So I've been working with the field journal designs, stitchery designs, and I'll try and keep you with me because this is a little bit of a peek into my creative process that is a little bit hard to keep up with. So how about I start with the field journal quilt, which, if you haven't seen the field journal quilt, it was a subscription based program that Cottage Garden Threads ran for a few years, and that has now wrapped up, and we offer the pattern booklet as booklet sets. So it was quite a long club project that ran over 3 years, but we had COVID in between that where we had to pause everything. I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago that I first came up with the concept for field journal, and I'm going to do a bit more of a video all about that. So in brief, the end product, the end result is a beautiful quilt that is 108 stitchery blocks, and the blocks are flora and fauna, so mostly floral, with some little garden critters and animals in there as well, and some birds, some inspired by vintage embroideries. And yeah, so it was lots of fun, really achievable because each of the little stitchery blocks only takes a couple to a few hours to do, and then putting it all together with the Liberty of London fabric. So the idea was the Collectors Club actually bought like over 100 thread colours together, and I thought, how am I going to do that in one project? So that's when Liberty popped into my mind, because that is quintessentially, you know, scrappy projects that just bring so many colours together, and it has worked really, really well. So I wanted to use some of the field journal designs and look at how else it can be put together, because it's been very inspiring to see how lots of different stitchers have put their field journal quilts together in many different ways. And one of the projects, because there was the quilt in the club and then there was some projects as well, and one of the projects at the start was this little zippered pouch where you can pop all of your things in there to take out and about with you on the go. And I just love this English paper pieced block here. So I then took that design and used our FJX cross stitch designs. So the FJX were, or still are, designs that our good friend Justin from Handlebar Stitcher, make sure you go and follow his Flosstube and Instagram and all the things. So he converted some of our field journal designs, and this is an ongoing thing, into cross stitch designs. So here are a few that I put together using the English paper piecing and hexagons and half hexagons. So that's done on a 40 count linen, which makes the design quite a lot smaller than the embroidered version, and I've bordered them with some Liberty fabrics that the colours pull from the design. So that one there, which was the Milrose design, and I think this was the Petunia design, and some cherry blossom as well. So it's got those pretty pinks around the edges of that one. They are half hexagon, so you can see the bigger hexagon in the center and then half hexagons around the edges to create one large hexagon, which means that you can actually piece those together just like you would a hexagon quilt. So that's a work in progress, but I also thought how beautiful that would be with the stitchery designs in the same blocks, in those half hexagon blocks. So I have been playing around with that. I think it was the 2-inch hexagons that I've been using for that, and using the Tack It Easy gadgets and templates for those projects. But I also love the octagon and square shapes in English paper piecing, especially for featuring embroideries or cross stitches. The octagon and the square were shapes that we had almost ready to release, and then production was stalled on those and development because of our bumpy Tack It Easy ride. If you want to know more about that, there is a video on our channel all about the Tack It Easy English paper piecing story and the gadgets. So these here, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So the octagon and the square are, now that we've found new suppliers, they're just about ready to be re-released again, which is really exciting. So I've been playing around with some of the field journal designs, and I've got a couple that I've mocked up here. I've just traced those out on that octagon shape because I wanted to see how they would go. It's not really picking that up, that's all right. How that would look just to mock up that design. So what happens with the octagon and the square is that they will be sewn together at that little center seam, and then a square turned on point will nest in there, and then more octagons and squares all nest in together. So it really looks beautiful when it's all put together. So I was really happy with that, and then wanted to go ahead and trial some of the designs. What I also wanted to do with these kind of alternative ways to put the field journal quilt together is select a colour palette that was a smaller selection of threads ready to pick up and go, rather than using all 108 colours for that. That is still available, the field journal quilt with all of the colours, and that will be staying absolutely. But just picking up a smaller palette and doing stitchery. So I selected that's here somewhere. I've got things everywhere here. I've got so much to show you. The Cottage Core collection, which was our last collection that we released, and here are all the colours in the Cottage Core collection. So what they look like, it's a bit easy to see them when they are packaged up and all twisted nicely. We've got Wild Rose, and then Cozy Nook, and we have Honey. All three of these put together create our hero thread. So they are the warm tones in the collection, and we've combined those together to create a hero thread. So these ones are tonal, just they move through different tones of the same colour, and then this is the hero that combines all of the deeper tones in these threads. So that one is called Pretty Ribbons. And you can see this is what it looks like when it's undone, so you can see how it moves through the colours. And then the cooler tones in the Cottagecore collection are, we've got Simple Things. Oh look, I'm matching. Simple Things and Loved Apron, which is a beautiful duck egg blue. Of course, remember that any of the threads, any of the colours of anything that I am showing you in videos or that you see in anyone else's videos may be slightly different to what they are in real life, because different screens, whether you're looking on your phone or your computer, will all show colours up a little bit differently, as well as how different cameras pick them up. So the purple in this range is called Bramble. There, so they are the cooler tones in the Cottagecore collection, and Cottage is the combination of those three cooler tones. What that looks like is, this is Cottage when it is out in those cool tones. Then we have, in each of the collections, we have the warm tones in the hero, the cool tones in the hero, and then two neutrals, a dark and a light. So in Cottagecore, the dark neutral is called Stove, and it is a beautiful, really, really rich, dark, deep chocolate brown. And then we have Chantilly Lace, which is a creamy, cream. It's just a lovely variegated cream. So they are the dark and the light neutrals together, because with any colour palette that you're working with, you do need a range of depths and tones, and that's what we've aimed for with the collections, is to be able to have a palette that you can just pick up and plug into any project. So there's 10 threads all up, and you know they're all going to go so well together, especially those heroes with the tonals, because they're the same colour. So they're just a really lovely complete little collection, and that is the one that I have selected to stitch out the hexagon and the octagon versions of the field journal quilt. And this is the first one that I have stitched up, and you can actually see that the little cross stitch version, how much kind of smaller that is to that. So this one here, and that is stitched with Simple Things for the leaves and the stems. The petals are the wild rose, and the stamen is the honey, and there's some little French knots in the centre, which are the stove, so the dark neutral. So you can see the size in comparison when I put them side by side of those designs there, how much larger that one is than that one done on the 40 count. And they're the same design, they look so different. They both look so lovely. So this is the first one that I have done, and I've just selected a Liberty print. I'm unsure of whether the whole project should have the same Liberty print in the squares to bring it all together. One that is that works really well with the Cottagecore colours, and I mean this one definitely does, absolutely does, beautiful print. Or whether I have different different prints in each of the corners of the octagon. So I'm not sure yet. What I will do now is get some stitched up and just lay them out and have a look. It's the only way that you're really going to see, is to have a play around and audition some fabrics, and we'll go from there. I think they'd look great either way, and with a project like this, it's great because it's completely up to your personal preference of what you can switch out and what you can do. So there's that I've been working on, and hopefully we'll make some good progress on that very soon. This is what the octagon gadget that I've been using looks like. So that's the size of it for that. Moving on to a little bit more English paper piecing related stuff. Let's have a drink. In playing around with all of the hexagons and the octagon shapes in the Tack It Easy, of course I can't help but think about how it could be improved even a little bit more. So the only thing that I find, and if you have the Tack It Easy gadgets, you might find, is that the fabric can slip a little bit as you're going around, and we want to make that as quick and easy as possible. Here's my little friend Spike the cat making an appearance in the background. So when I was playing around with those, I had the thought to have something that's going to help the fabric grip a little bit as you're going around, and I've purchased in the past some ruler stabilizers that you can stick onto the bottom of the rulers, and it's like a grippy, almost like a sandpaper type of stuff. So I just found some 400 grit sandpaper, and I've glued them into the middle of the gadgets just to see. So it's a very, very fine sandpaper. I did test it to see whether it would damage the fabric, and it doesn't at all for laying it in and using it. Yeah, so I played around with a couple of different sizes of those. So that's the little baby 1/2 inch there, and it works really, really well. Really happy with that. So you can either DIY yourself this if you already have the gadgets, or I'm working with our manufacturers of these to do a stick-on decal pack where you can just get them and stick them on. So that will be happening. And this one, which is my original, I think it was the first prototype in this actual material, so that is still going, and this is another work in progress that I've got. It's down here. You won't be able to see it all, but this is my hexi quilt that was the inspiration behind the Tack It Easy gadget. So it's getting quite big, which is great. So I've been using this same one for this whole quilt, and it's still going great. The other thing I thought would be helpful to have is a bit more of a visual guide on where to place your fabric down on it. So on this one, I have just drawn with a fine liner marker on that score line, which is where you line up your fabric shapes. And then I just cross-hatched with a grey lead just to make those outer petals a bit darker to see how that would go. And it worked really, really well. So I was really happy with that. So same thing, you can DIY it yourself and just get a marker and rule the lines and then colour in the outer petal with a marker or a grey lead. Or you can get some tape, some washi tape, something like that, and put it over. I will also be looking at having some decals made so that you can pick some of those up as well, on if you have them already, or purchasing them in the future. So there's some little developments for the Tack It Easy gadget that I'm really happy with, and yeah, it just makes it so much quicker and easier. So while I was playing around with that, and this is how my mind works, folks, while I was playing with that, I needed some more papers, especially for the 1/2 inch, because I had scraps from a different project, of course, that were very small, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to do some little 1/2 inch hexes, which led me to the idea of how cute it would be to make a little zippered pouch to hold the shape of the hexie sets in it. So we've got the hexagon sets there, and in the shape that they are, because like it just makes sense. So I started to make some little 1/2-inch babies to sew together using some scraps, and I was using the little 1/2-inch, which just makes it so much. Every now and again I get a little bit of like imposter syndrome thinking about the Tack It Easy gadget, and so I'll just go back to doing it the old way and I'm instantly like, my imposter syndrome goes away and I'm like, this is so much better and easier. And I think especially so for the tiny little ones when you're using the glue and it just gets all over your fingers. So so I do that every now and again. So the 1/2-inch, putting those together, and I needed more papers. So then I had a thought from, if you've seen the little shorts video that I made about the thread wall here that I've created, and I have cut off the backing cards. So like you see in the threads here, I have actually cut off the backing cards, the bottom half of that, just so that you can have, I can have more visibility in here. I can see the threads easier. And I had a whole heap of them, and there's only so many like floss drops that I'm going to need out of these cards, which is what I recommend that you keep them for if you're going to use the same method. And that way as well, you should always keep at least one, so you've got that, all of that information on the back of the card, the care instructions and everything like that. So I had a whole heap of these, and then I thought this is the perfect weight card to make some hexie papers. So I cut out some hexie papers out of the, I had a look at what would fit. I've got a piece, a 1-inch one here, so there's 1 inch, and it was just meant to be. It's like we designed the packaging that it would have this purpose. So you can see on there, if I line up the edges, that is the exact width for a 1-inch paper. So I just use that as a template and I cut them out. Obviously you're not going to get a lot of 1-inch ones out of it, but I was able to get like 1-inch one and little 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch, just some different combinations on those, or cutting out a few 1/2 inches or 3/4 inches out of those. So that was fun. I'm hoping to find a punch. I think Fiskars has a punch where I could just, punch those out, because it is better to use with the Tack It Easy gadgets a card that is, 200 GSM or more, so grams per square meter. Not sure what that relates to if you do not live in Australia or use the metric system. So, but just a heavier weight card, because if it's too soft, like, or too thin, like pamphlets or just ordinary computer paper, what can happen is that if you haven't lined it up, it will just fold it over. It won't give any resistance to let you know, okay, that's not completely in the center. But the weight of ones that you would buy from stores are generally that nice heavier weight card, which is coincidentally what our cards are. So that was a little bit of fun and a handy trick if you're a multi-crafter. And this pussycat is so vocal down here. Let me, maybe he wants to be introduced. This is one of 3. I think he might just actually be hungry. This is Spike. This is Spike, and we have a ginger one named Tonto, and also have a big fluffy grey cat called Ricky Baker. If you have not seen the movie Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a reference to where the name Ricky Baker comes from, I highly recommend it. if you are not Australian, definitely bring an Australian sense of humour when you're watching that movie. It's the best, and a great family watch for, I would say, 10 years old up, maybe. Couple of swear words in there, but a fantastic movie with Sam Neill, and yeah, so hi Spike, you go down there. Alright, so where was I? English paper piecing papers. I was talking about cutting those, doing those. Now I have to backtrack the wild and mysterious ways that my brain operates to get back to what I was talking about. But if I've lost my train of thought, if it comes back to me, it comes back to me. If not, pop it in the comments, tell me what I was talking about. I've also been working on, as a personal project, with English paper piecing, something that I've been working on for a little bit too long, and it was meant to be done in time for last Christmas. But hopefully we will be done in time for this Christmas, because we have what is going to be a Christmas stocking. So this is, I've got five kids, and so 3 older ones, 2 younger ones, and I'm starting off with the 2 younger ones. They're stockings. So this is one of theirs. I think this is Dot's stocking that she selected all the prints for, and actually she did all of the glue basting herself with that. She absolutely loves doing that, and that's using the 1 inch. So that is the 1 inch gadget and the 1 inch papers. So that's a really nice size for the stockings, because it's big enough that I'm not having to do hundreds, but it's small enough that it kind of gives a good curve. So that will be trimmed off, obviously, to give a nice curve. And I cut out from a template. The template was actually a stocking, just a cheaper store-bought one. And I just made a pattern out of a supermarket grocery bag there. So that is my pattern for the stocking, and then we just laid out the hexagons on top of that, and then stitched them all together. The great thing about that is that you don't actually even need a pattern as such, because now I just know like how many hexagons to use, so how many rows. If you would like to know like how many rows in the design of that, let me know in the comments, and I'm sure I can just draw up a little design that you can then copy to make your own. So that's the first of 5, will be 5 stockings. I'm going to hand quilt it, so I'm just using an old woolen blanket that I got from an op shop, and I'm going to cut that up and put a lining in there. I might not even really have to, if I'm using the wool blanket. I haven't quite figured that bit out yet, but it will come to me. So I do want to hand quilt it. I think that will be super cute. And yeah, that's the first, and I've got, this is the second one. I've got all of the hexies all basted, ready to go. So that is May's stocking, and she chose all of the prints, and we did a bit of fussy cutting with that, which was really fun. So yeah, the girls did there's some cute little, there's like a papa dog. Yeah, just some really cute, like with the sun. Some really cute novelty prints in it's a fabric collectors club that I was in, a Fat 16th from Treehouse Textiles in Mornington. So I have all of these different fabrics that I might not necessarily use for projects of my own, but it gave a really good selection of the girls to select their own fabrics. So yeah, so that's been fun. Personal project. And cross-stitching project, I am quite new to cross-stitch. Like, I've only been doing it for a couple of years, so I'm still learning that. But I figured because Cottage Garden Threads really started entering into the US market a few years ago, and I know that over there it is, if you are in the US, hello friends, but cross stitch is really popular among other needlework, but it's a lot more popular than what it is here in Australia. It's definitely growing here in Australia, and I thought I better learn what this is all about. So yeah, that we can develop our products better suited, some of them better suited to all types of needlework, and the best way to do that is for me to have a go. And I actually fell in love with it. I did not think that I would because I tend to be a bit more free, kind of free flowing, and with stitching and with embroidery and stitching it is more just following lines, a little more artistic maybe you would put it. And I didn't think that I would be good at cross stitch because it is very logical. It is very you know, very counting. I don't do well at knitting because of all the counting. I very much get distracted, as you would have learned from me today in already in this video, that I get very distracted. So, but I wanted to give it a go. I wanted to learn all about it, and I think my first experience with cross stitch was when I would have been about 7 or 8 years old maybe, and we were on holiday and I went to a craft store with mum, who of course is absolutely multi-craft textile talented, and I saw this chart of cats because I am a cat person. I love cats, and I had all these different cats, just little motifs of these cats, and I thought, oh, I want to give that a go. So it was a black and white cat, very strangely, just like Spike now that I think about it. And I stitched it up, and when I had finished, this poor little cat had one eye down here and one eye up here, and he looked very, very special. So I was very put off by that, and I never touched cross stitching again because I just assumed that I was bad at it because I got it wrong that first time. So if any of my neurospicy friends out there will probably relate with that, you know, when you have a go at something and don't get it right the first time, you just kind of assume you're not good at it. I have since learned through my life that that is not in fact true, and that everything comes with development and practice, and in fact the worse you are at something to start with, you know, the better it is, because you've got so far to go. If you're naturally amazing at something first go, well, that's not very fun. For me, the fun is in the learning. So I decided to pick up cross stitching again. Despite that, I would push through that trauma, and I actually fell in love with it, and I was doing it, and I'm like, I didn't think that I would be enjoying this, and I became hooked, and it's really quite addictive. So I've done a couple of pieces, and I might bring them out one day because I've got lots to share with you today. But the one in particular that I have been working on for that whole time, pretty much, in between other things, I'll just grab that one, is the Witchy Stitcher collaboration that we did, and we created a special edition range of threads for this, and this is called All Treats No Tricks, and this is the start. This is what my progress is on these little guys. So cute. That is stitched on Fossil by Fox and Rabbit, who was part of the collaboration, and 28 count Fossil. So loving that. So the threads for that collaboration, Witchy Night and black ichor, charred pumpkin, ashes to ashes, ghost sheet, putrid purple, and swamp water. So all of those threads are still available, and you can find the chart over at with Meg at the Witchy Stitcher. I will of course pop all links, information to anything I talk about in the description below, so you can find if I have enabled you where you can find your own. So that's a bit of fun, and I doubt I'll have it done by this Halloween, but it is there. It is not going to go off or bad, which is what I love most about our chosen hobby, is that it doesn't matter how long in between stitching, because life is life and life is busy. So we should never punish ourselves for not achieving huge things over a certain amount of time, I believe, and that they won't go off. So they will be there like old friends to pick up where you left off. Our giveaway for this video is a Pigeon and Puddle Chart by Janine McGowan from The Blue Flower, and the called for cottage garden threads, of course. So we have, oh, these are always such a handful to try and get organised, all pretty for the camera. This is the thread pack. So we've got Scandalous here, and Shadows. We've got Murray Pine, and Nimbus. And we've also got Silver Birch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threads for the thread pack and Pigeon and Puddle Chart. If you would like to win this giveaway, and we will ship wherever you are in the world, put in the comments Pigeon. So that is Pigeon. So mention Pigeon in your comment somewhere, and we'll draw a winner ready for our next Flosstube video. I've got a little update on our latest collection from the dye room. So our latest collection to come out will be Secret Garden. We had Secret Garden up as a pre-order a little while ago, and if you ordered that, thank you very much. And you're probably wondering, where is it? So with the Secret Garden collection, I really wanted to push the boundaries and make the colours as dark as possible, so a really deep, mysterious range in that Secret Garden vibe. And to do that, we really needed to push the boundaries of what we'd ever done before. And when we look at designing new colours, and also for matching up colours in conversions and things like that, we use a standardized color selection of DMC colors, so that it's really easy to know when you're talking to people. It is the most common and easily found thread out there. Keeping in mind though that, like any thread company, there are dye lot differences. So if it's a DMC whatever number, what can happen is, if you've got an older one, a newer one, you know, they can also be different. But we do our best, and we have a set that we use as design references, and I couldn't actually find in those ranges any of the colours that I wanted that were that dark and that deep. Now, a little bit of inspiration behind the range as well was that every now and again we do have some mist dyes that don't come out quite right. But we can actually over dye these colours to then, particularly for blacks and really dark colours, we can just use that mist dye as a base and dye over the top of it. And that way we haven't wasted any thread. So sometimes we try that, but what can happen is that you won't actually get what you want. You'll get a really, really deep, rich colour. Unfortunately, it's really hard to repeat that because you've got an under dye of a colour and then an over dye, and there's just too many variables that go into that. So we've kind of had some mist dyes in the past that we've all grabbed because they're really nice and we really like them, but it's a bit too hard to repeat that. We wanted to be able to have those kind of colours in this range, really deep, rich, dark colours, and it be repeatable. So this is what we've been developing and what has taken a little bit of time to order in special dyes that we haven't used before and have to put them through testing processes to ensure that we will have that consistency going forward. So that has been happening in the dye room, and then that kind of opened a can of worms, which led us to really looking at some of our processes and redeveloping them and finding different processes that would actually help with things like consistency, and also having to, if we test to change the processes at all, we still need to make sure we're testing that they are colour fast. So there's all those tests that go on top of it as well. So it's all really fantastic news, but what it means is it has delayed the Secret Garden collection more than what we anticipated that we wanted to have them released. But today I do have a little sneak peek of the colours so far, and like you saw with the Cottagecore collection, and if you're familiar with the Daydream collection, it is the same concept where we have the cool tones, the warm tones, and the heroes that are made up of those, and the dark and the light neutral. So I don't have them all here today to show you, but I do have a few of them. And in our threads, you would be used to, if they're a multicolored thread, having the way that we apply them in that, it's called space dyeing. So you've got more of the blocks of colour that are then bleeding into each other to create those third colours, and across the length you've got those colours repeating. So that's our more kind of our signature way that we apply the colours. And with this range I wanted something, the heroes will be like this, but for the tonals, rather than have that space dyeing look, I wanted it to be a little bit more mottled, a little bit more random. So almost a solid, but not quite. So you've still got a little bit of depth and movement and change in the colours, and then you've got that high movement and variegation in the hero colours. So with the warmer tones, we have got Ember, and I think on camera these are coming up a bit brighter than what they are actually true to life. And so we've got Ember, we've got Follow the Robin, and we've got Old Key. So that's like an antique gold. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, but they have got like a subtle mottled variegation in there, and the hero will then be the combination of those three warm tones, and it's quite different, even though it seems a bit familiar when you're looking at the Wild Rose and the Cozy Nook and the Honey in the Cottagecore collection to make pretty ribbons. So same concept, and you're thinking, well, why are you just doing the same thing over and over again? But you can see that the colours are so much different. Hard to see those. So they will in turn make a very different hero variegated thread. So so they're not going to be repeated. They are the brighter also of the range, because we don't want them all to be almost black, because then that's not going to really give you much variety and practicality when using the collection in a project. So the darker colours are, we've got, so the representative of green in the collection is Thicket. So that's a beautiful deep green. And then we have, this is Misselthwaite. Now Misselthwaite is a very dark teal colour, so we do not have anything with this deep rich teal colour as yet in the range, and when put together with the green you can see how that is reading blue. So that is the blue of the range. And then we have a purple which is called Secret, and that's a really deep dark purple as well. So they are the cool tones together, and they are just beautiful together. So that is going to create a hero thread, which is going to be beautiful. So you might think, well, how is that going to be different from something like Shadows, that is one of our giveaway threads, where we do have a deep blue, purple and green. You can easily see here in comparison, the colours are quite different there. So that is very exciting to see. And the dark and the light neutrals in the Secret Garden collection, I have the light neutral here today, and this is called Whisper. The dark neutral I don't have because I wanted it to be almost black, so a green based black. So that's actually going through the dye room again to be over dyed. So in this collection we have quite a few colours that are actually dyed twice and sometimes even three times, which will give them that real depth. But they are going to be the same price as all of the other threads. We just know that they need to go through the processes multiple times to really get that that depth. So very excited about that range. Now that we've got a few of the collections, the Daydream was our first one, and then we had Daydream, which was the brighter ones, and the Cottage Core, which is the more subtle colours with that one, and then we've got the Secret Garden, which is going to be the really deep dark colours. And so the theory behind it is that if you are going to collect the collections, you will end up with colour palettes within those collections. So the green, because all of the collections have a representative of each colour of the rainbow. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, good old Roy G. Biv. And then the two heroes, two neutrals. And so what this will give you, and now I can actually show you what that will look like, because I've got the Nimbus as well in the giveaway, and I have the Chantilly lace. So Nimbus is from the Daydream collection, it's the light neutral, and Chantilly lace is the light neutral from Cottage Core, and then we have the Whisper. When I put all of those together, ooh, this is the first time I've actually put all of them together. Oh, and they look amazing. So all of those light neutrals, which you can see are very different from each other. Love it when a plan comes together. So by collecting all of the collections, you will begin to build a library of all of those different colours. which is really great. And we didn't have a lot of pale, like really pale neutrals. I think this is like Butterbean, which is probably as pale as we really kind of went before. And the range, yeah, it was really lacking in, I think, Bridal Veil, actually, and that is more of a variegated one with the white in the centre, and then that pinky peach and a creamy yellow. But that's about as pale as we went. So that was part of the idea behind the collections, is that I wanted to be able to have some of those really light neutrals and dark neutrals as well, which is always what you need in projects. It might not be necessarily the eye-catching pretty ones that you just want to have just because they're absolutely beautiful, but they are ones that are used a lot. So they're the basics in the range. Yeah, so that's that. Love seeing how that comes together. So Secret Garden, we are so close. We are so close, and if you've ordered that pre-order, thank you, and we're sorry it hasn't come out into your letterboxes just yet, but we are very, very close. And then we will be opening it up for general sale. So if you didn't get that pre-order, you'll be able to get your hands on them. But of course, Cottagecore, Daydream, there, if you want to get a head start on collecting those collections, they're all up available on the on our website already. Thinking forward to the next collection, because we want to be on the front foot a bit more than what we have been. The idea was we wanted to be bringing out these collections every 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and we have obviously learnt that they take a lot longer than what we think to be developing those colours. So we want to be getting on the front foot and be thinking a bit more about the collections coming up in the future. So we've already got the concepts, designs done for the next range. Collection, not range, it's like a mini range. And I'm really excited about this one because it is going to be absolute chaos. Literally, that is what it is called. It is chaos. And this is a chance for Mara and Kate, our dyers, to get in that dye room and just run amok. So think glitter bombs and fireworks and speckled confetti. If you lived in Australia growing up in the 80s, think the multicoloured fruit tingle in the pack. If you know, you know. So yeah, lots of really fun different techniques that we've never done before. And because it will be a lot more of a labour intensive thread with all of those different really artistic techniques, we are going to make it limited edition. We've never actually done a limited edition before. We've done special editions, but you can get them all the time. This will be limited. So we were bringing it out. We will be bringing out a certain amount, and then that is it. Once it's gone, it is gone. And so comment below if you're excited about the thought of chaos, and so we can gauge how many we think that's going to look like, and then we'll be able to plan for for a limited amount of the chaos collection. So stay tuned because that is going to be so much fun. Are you still with me? Thank you for tuning in for this long if you've made it this far. I'm not sure whether all of the future videos are going to be this long. It was just really hard to decide what to keep in and what to leave out for the future. So I would love to answer any questions that you have. Please pop them in the comments and I'll select a question to go over in depth in the next video. But for today, I will just answer a frequently asked question that we have, and that is, are our threads colour fast? The short answer is yes. Using the care instructions on the back of the pack to wash and rinse in hot water, roll it up in a towel, squeeze it out and air dry. But I do want to go over this in great detail in another video. And also we have an amazing blog post which goes over colour fastness and care instructions with a great real life example of a ladies table runner who was had to evacuate from flooding, and a lot of her house contents were destroyed. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and a beautiful table runner she'd been working on that was using our threads had been soaking in the flood water for a period of time, and we were able to, she sent it back to us and we were able to get that good as new. So pop over to the blog and check that out, and we've got lots of other blog posts with called CGT School with all of that kind of technical information about our threads. I would also love to do some conversion requests. So if you have a chart or a pattern, embroidery, cross stitch, whatever it is, needlepoint, I would love for you to pop in the comments below conversion request and the designer name and the design name, and I'll select one of those for the next video to do a selection of threads that I would recommend as a colour conversion, or if you would like for it to be a straight colour conversion like for like, or if you'd like to go in a bit of a different vibe and a different tone. I'd love to have some fun selecting some colours for you, because I have all of the colours here, so I can put one of those together. So please pop in the comments below conversion request, and let's have some fun with that. So a couple of new things that we have in are the work cushion pattern is now available as a downloadable PDF, and we've had lots and lots of requests for this. This is the work cushion, so the original one that I designed, and I designed this because I had been given the tip a long time ago from a beautiful friend of ours, Brenda Ryan, to always have a cushion on your lap when you're stitching to bring your arms up so that you don't have those stooped shoulders and bent over and end up with aching neck and shoulders, so to raise your arms up. So I grabbed a couch cushion and I was using that, not a whole entire couch cushion, sorry, sofa. It was just a stock standard cushion, but I found that was a bit too flat on my lap, so I got a clothing belt and I wrapped it around that cushion to bend it up so that it would be a little bit higher for my arms, and I found it worked great because it kind of contoured into my body and it raised my arms up at a great angle. And then I discovered I could actually tuck my tools, so my scissors and some thread, in underneath that belt. And that led me to come up with the work cushion pattern, which it just looks like a patchwork cushion from a distance, but these down the side here are actually straps. So mimicking that belt that I had around the cushion, but there's two, one on each side, and so they've got segments there, and you can put scissors and thread in there if you have the, pop the thread in there. A bit tricky to do this in there. You pop the thread in there and undo the thread, and while you're sitting there with it on your lap, you can pull that out and be using it. Some scissors, got some little scissors in there. You can just have right there, sitting there, ready to grab as you're working. And for me, I had so I've got 5 kids and had they were quite little at the time, so I was always getting up and down and up and down. But even now, still they're a bit older, and I'm still finding I sit down, I have to get up, sit down, get up, and my stitching tools would end up all over the place, down the side of the couch, and threads would end up everywhere and stuck to the cat and to my bum, and so the work cushion kept everything together. I could just pick it up, put it down, hop up, get back, sit down, and everything was there ready to go. So I absolutely love using it. The secret, the trick to the work cushion is this strap on the back here, and this has buttonholes that I've designed, and it's really sturdy. So I've got a reinforced seam down the back there and the buttonholes with the shank button on the back at the top, and you fold it over and put the button through one of the buttonholes depending on how bent up and how high you want the cushion. And what that does is it puts it into this shape where you can put it in around your body, and it just hugs into your body, lifts your arms up, and it's great. So it also acts as like a needle rest pin cushion, or you can put needle minders on it. The corners are also pockets, so you can pop your little snacks in there. Just don't put chocolate in the inside ones. I learned that the hard way with the body heat next to your body. Not great. You can also, if you've got your clips, quilting clips and things, they can just go on there. So it's a really handy but very cute, versatile cushion. So that is a work cushion. I designed a few for retreats, and it's lovely to see those popping up in the wild and people taking them to retreats. So it is a fantastic thing to take with you, because you can pop it on the tabletop and rest your arms on there, and it's really comfortable. So I put a button down on this side of the strap so that the strap converts to a carry handle like this. So when you're going to a retreat and you've got your arms full of everything, you can just pop that over your arm and juggle everything. I have seen people that have made a cover for it, like a carry bag, and that's really clever because you can just pop in all your tools, pop it in the bag, and then take it with you back to your room and come back the next day and everything's all set up for you. So that's the work cushion. We had lots of requests for it to be a PDF download because not everyone wanted to actually stitch the quote that I've got here in the middle. That is, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by the ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So that's an Albert Einstein quote that I love. But this is a great spot just for an orphan block cross stitch embroidery, or just that piece of fabric that you have that you've never wanted to cut up because it's just so special to you. This is a perfect place to put that. If your orphan block is a little bit bigger than this one here, you can just take off these side panels here. So very easy to change to however you would like it to be. That's is in a very patchwork, kind of scrappy patchwork look with all different fabrics for all different parts of the cushion. You can do it where it's a bit more matching if that's more your jam. And then I did another version which has an embroidery in the center, and that is called Magic Happens Here, and that is an illustration of the Cottage Garden Threads factory. It's a quirky little old building and all the flowers coming out behind it because we are just an explosion of colour and magic. So that is not available as a PDF download. You will need to purchase the physical copy and you'll get an iron-on transfer of that. But the cushion itself is made up exactly the same. So that's how different, this is still scrappy with all different fabrics for each part around the cushion for the pockets and the straps, but you can just see how much of a different look it has depending on the different fabrics that you use. You can just use a ordinary polyester stuffed cushion, but I wanted something that was really nice and heavy, like a feather cushion on my lap, and you can see how it falls. It's quite heavy. So I actually used thread ends in there. I stuffed it full of our thread ends, which is our offcuts in our production process. So I popped them in there, and we actually had lots of requests for those as well. So we do have thread ends that you can get, because there's only so many that we save ourselves when we're doing our personal stitching. I have this tiny little, these are my aughts, these are my thread ends, tiny little things. You know, and this has taken me a long time to get, but that's very special to me because that means that I have done all the work that these have come from. But the thread ends, there is no way I would get enough in my personal stitching to fill that. So I have used the offcuts from our threads in that. So the Genius, this one here, it's called the Genius Work Cushion because of the quote, but I mean, I think it is a bit genius if I do say so myself. I absolutely love using it and have great feedback from everyone who's made their own. And yeah, I've seen some really cool ones. I saw a Dresden plate block in the patchwork block in there, which looked amazing. Some personalized initials of embroideries. Yeah, so many different things, and they look amazing. So this is the one that is available as the PDF download, instant access straight to you. This one here is the physical copy that you can purchase with the iron-on transfer, and we also have a cross stitch panel in the middle from Joanna Kabanoff of Mojo Stitches, and that is now available online. So she has designed an absolutely gorgeous, I'll put the photo up here, a gorgeous panel that can go into the cushion, and the thread she's used in that is leather bound, JK02 leather bound. But the idea that Joanna had behind this design is that you can very easily adapt it to any thread colours and any fabrics to make your cushion. We've been working on putting together an instructional video because we know that a lot of people who would get such great use out of the work cushion may not necessarily be big patchworkers themselves or have a lot of experience with piecing and sewing. So we've been working on putting together a series of samples, step-by-step instructions, so you'll be able to visually see how the cushion goes together, and I'll be doing a video with that. So if you'd like to go ahead and purchase your PDF or your physical pattern, gather your supplies and your materials, I would love to be able to walk you through that and make it as simple and enjoyable for you as possible. Don't forget to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to our channel if you've enjoyed hanging out, and I can't wait to see you in our next video.